The purpose of a boundary is to prevent harm. Okay? Harm of like you overriding yourself and pushing yourself farther than is good for you, overriding your feelings and suppressing your feelings, overriding your needs and not going to bat for your needs. We want to prevent that kind of self-harm. And we also want to prevent harm on other people, which is imposing ourselves on them. Meaningful, life-affirming, and energizing choices. So part of this is you taking the time to get very, very clear on what works for you. What kind of animal are you? What kind of plant are you? Are you more of a cactus and you just want water twice a year? Or are you more like an orchid and you need like gentle rain every day? It's about really knowing yourself and then being able to teach other people about you. Boundaries are important because they're protective. You need clarity on your own limitations and boundaries so that you can protect and guard your heart, your mind, and your soul's well-being. Okay. And it's about staying in a place of choicefulness where you take full responsibility for your well-being. Boundaries are exquisite self-care. Really, for me, they're the same thing. Exquisite self-care requires exquisite boundaries. So you start asking yourself, and when you have some time, journal on these questions. They're deep questions and they deserve your time and attention. So what behaviors, what experiences, what structures, what agreements are you happy to welcome into your space? So let me give you an example. When I'm thinking about my own self-care, I have a very deep value of personal growth, human development, and empathic connection. These are very deep values of mine. Given that I know that about myself, what I welcome into my space are emotionally empathic, alive, awake, growing, learning people. People who are asking curious questions, people who are working on themselves, people who have a vision for a better world and are really actively working to live into that. I welcome those kinds of conversations. I welcome those kinds of people. What are you willing to work with in your space, even though you don't like it, given your values? Well, I'm willing to work with humans who get really angry and aggressive. I'm willing to work with humans who sometimes say and do violent and mean things. I don't like it, but to the degree that I can field pain or that I can field intensity and use it and respond to it, learn from it for myself and create a new experience for another person, I'm absolutely willing to work with it. What won't you allow in your space given your values? Well, I don't have any guns in my house. That would be something that I don't allow in my space given my values. I'm not saying that's right for everybody. I'm not saying that, I have strong feelings about anybody else, but that's something that it frightens me and I don't want it in my house. Another thing that I don't allow in my space is somebody physically being aggressive with me. The moment that somebody pushes me or smacks me or, aggresses against me in a physical way, I leave. I don't allow that in my space. Okay. I'm not available for that. I don't hang out for that. I don't stay engaged with that. Now, other people, I have a very good friend who's a martial arts, blah, 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 loves that. He has different values. He has different capacities. He has different choices. He doesn't mind. He would rather take physical aggression because he feels like he can take it than emotional aggression. I would much rather work in the realm of emotional aggression than physical. You get to decide what you're available for playing with and what you're not. So part of setting a good boundary and part of knowing where your boundaries are is really knowing yourself and trusting yourself and being true to yourself. I know that if I spend X amount of hours in any given work week interacting with people face-to-face, I get completely burned out. So I've learned there's a ratio of how much interface work with real human beings that I can do every week before I'm toast. I can't do it. Okay. I need certain amounts of complete silence and alone time built into my week. That's a boundary. That's a limitation. That's one of the ways that I care for myself. That is not a rejection of anybody, for example. That's me taking responsibility for my well-being. So when you have some time, you begin by really getting to know your self-care landscape and knowing what you're welcoming, what you love, what nourishes you. What's your stretch stuff? What are the things that like, it's uncomfortable, I don't prefer it, but I can see how it could be mutually beneficial and there's a really useful tension and grapple that I'm up for. And where are my ultimatums? Like, I'm just not available for that. That is just not a thing that I'm welcoming into my space. Those are the kinds of things you want to get really clear on.